You are a successful woman. You are a confident woman. You made the decision not to marry. So what I want to hear from you, and many other women I think do too, what's wrong with you, Kristen?
Right.
Did you push record?
Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. I'm so happy to welcome Kristin Kaufman back to Second Act, the author of Is This Seat Taken? And today in particular, No, I Saved It For You, your most recent book. Kristen, thanks for joining me again.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love being on these with you.
Well, I'm really excited to have you today because this is an important topic. We have recently done several videos, and it's kind of the focus of our channels. Finding love after 50 is a huge topic, and keeping that that hope alive that there is a soulmate out there for you. What if you don't want that?
Right.
It's a whole other perspective on life and our choices that people, it can be difficult. And you are a successful woman. You are a confident woman. You made the decision not to marry, and you talk about that in this chapter, or in chapter 3 in your book.
Right.
So what I want to hear from you, and many other women I think do too, what's wrong with you, Kristen?
Right. Well, there's nothing wrong with me, right? And it's not to say that I'm not going to ever get married. It's just to say that I'm 59 years old. I'll be 60 in a few months, if you can believe it. I can't believe I'm saying that. And I just never met the right person, right? I was reared in this wonderful family, Silky, that my parents had been married for over 65 years. They were childhood sweethearts. And I wanted that. I wanted that if I was going to marry at all. I didn't want to settle. So I just never met the right person. So I didn't ever feel pressured to marry. And believe me, I live in the South. So, in the South, it's sort of like you get married, you have a child, you have a white picket fence, and the rest goes on.
Right. Well, and obviously I was facetious. We actually titled a video like that, Over 50 and Not Married, What's Wrong With You? And that is the pressure you get. That is what, why do people think they can even ask that question, or how you depict in your, I loved this chapter 3, about your high school reunion. How here again, you are somebody who rose to the top of the corporate ladder. You have every reason to walk into any room with your chest out. Have done things that most men can't accomplish, but you were dreading going to your high school reunion. Let's talk about that.
I was, and I think a lot of people sometimes dread going to their high school reunion for varying degrees of reasons. In the South, like I was saying, I'm from Hot Springs, Arkansas originally, and the modus operandi of women in the South typically is, as I mentioned, to get married. You grow up, you get an MRS degree in college, is what they used to call it, their MRS degree, and then they have children, and there you have it. And I was going back to my reunion, and I hadn't married. And what I wrote about is, people, when they hear that you're not married, they come up with all kinds of assumptions. Yeah. I use this, I think the adage in the book is their heads cock and their eyebrows raise. Yeah. Because they come up with all sorts of assumptions that maybe I'm gay, or maybe something's really wrong with me, and none of that's true. I love men. I love men. I just didn't meet the right person. And therefore I didn't feel pressured to just get married. Mm-hmm. There's so much more to life. And my mother and daddy used to say there's a whole many things worse than not getting married, and that's being married to the wrong person.
Oh, absolutely. And that's really, what I want to hit hard in this segment as well. Because, I'm not married now. I'm twice divorced. I was married for 25 years the second time, and neither was the right decision. And I knew it when I did it.
Wow.
I really did. I didn't have the courage to follow what my gut was telling me, my intuition.
Right.
You did. You had that courage.
Well, and I owe a lot of that to my parents, to be honest. They gave my sister and I both permission to, step to our own drummer, right? To build the life that we wanted to build, and not to feel societal pressures to do things that may or may not be, to use your term, right with our gut. And our intuition's telling us one thing, but we do something else.
Right.
And most of the time when we do that, as you know, we end up regretting it.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't follow our intuition and we say, I know better in my head, but your heart's saying something else, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a boo-boo.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And well, my other friend who inspired that first segment, I'll link to it, which I mentioned you because you popped in my head.
Oh.
It's the same thing, it's like, okay, so I have many friends who are divorced or who are unhappily married, and they're asking me what's wrong with me. And I guess I want people who are in that situation, who have either chosen not to get married, who are divorced, who are single, is there something wrong? No, there isn't.
No, there isn't. Not at all. And, I think also, and again, I don't want to get too woo-woo, but I think also there's a sector of our population who also think that we were put on this earth to marry and procreate.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that is what life is for. Well, I lost the ability to have children. So biologically, I was not given the opportunity to have children, even if I had been able to have children. I was not able to have children. So I didn't have that pressure, that biological clock thing. Yeah. I never had one because I wasn't able to have children. So that wasn't a pressure. And I don't believe that that's the only reason why we're put on this planet is to get married and procreate. I think we all have different gifts and we have different ways of contributing. And if you're single, okay,
Yeah. It's funny, again, in your chapter, it just cracked me up. You mentioned, once you walked in, that within 2 seconds, you got the cold douse of the question, oh, you didn't bring your husband?
Oh, exactly. And I never had one.
And then you described the evening, until your friend Jane, I love your friend Jane, but you described it as a bad game of Jeopardy. Where the question or the answer, whatever, what is happiness as a single woman?
Exactly. And, to your point about Jane, she, true friendship, and I think we all know this, especially when you get to be over 50, you know what true friendship is.
Yeah.
And it's that unconditional acceptance. You may have chosen a different path than many of your friends, but your friends still respect you, acknowledge you, and see you and appreciate you for what you are. And I think going into that reunion, I had lost that plot. Jane reaffirmed it, right? I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to make all sorts of assumptions. They're going to put all sorts of judgments on me because I didn't follow the suit. I did my own thing, and I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah. Well, some of them did. Some of them did, but it's not everybody. It's not.
Well, and those people don't matter.
Exactly. The people don't matter, and their judgment doesn't matter. We did some. You mentioned having children. We did some videos on making that decision, child-free or childless. You didn't have the choice. I made the decision to be child-free. And that was, a lot. I was so surprised how many younger women tuned into that, wanting to, well, what's that like? Do you regret it or not? And let me steer a conversation a bit in that direction. One, okay. Are there any regrets about choosing not to marry? And then also for advice, how do you handle that question? When people, say the same thing, oh God, I can identify with this. You go to, you see somebody you haven't seen for a long time or a high school reunion, you're asked that question. How do you handle it?
Right. So I'm very honest and very direct, and I'm actually very grounded when I'm asked that question now, because I really had to get aligned, in my stance on that. So when I'm asked, I say, no, I've never married. And they'll look at me like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. And I'll say, I was given many chances to get married, and I was. Mm-hmm. There were many men that I was very close to getting married. I'm so grateful that I made the choice not to. So I just say it was never right. The decision was, the choices that I had would have been the wrong choices had I not chosen the way I did. So I have zero regrets. Zero. Yeah. I mean, I don't believe in regrets in the first place, because I do believe everything is providential, and all of the decisions that we're making are creating the path that our life is to take. And we're learning lessons all the time. We're learning lessons all the time. So when I'm asked, I'm just very confident and say, no, I've never married. And, oh, I can't believe that. Really? I can't believe you haven't married. Well, no, it just never was right.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you regret that? Not at all. My life is the life that I've created.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a not hot, touchy topic. It just,
It is.
oh, it raises so much emotion because,
Yes.
and it's really more about the person asking the question than really about you, because you start questioning yourself
Yes.
and your decisions.
Yes. Well, and you can't really take anything back.
Right.
I mean, at this point, I'm 59 years old. I wasn't able to have children, but I surely can't have them now unless it was divine conception, right? So that's not going to happen. And I could still marry. Who's to say that I'm not going to marry?
Absolutely.
I just haven't married up until now.
Right. Right. And if
So,
that's what, yeah, if that's what you want, but that doesn't need, it doesn't need, it's not, it doesn't make you complete. I think that's an important message for
yeah,
me to
that's
get
right.
across. And it's something I learned a different way. I mean, I don't want to get married again. I'm in a great relationship, have been for almost 10 years now. Marriage does not complete you. That's not to say I'm not poo-pooing marriage. It works
No.
great for people, and it's very, very important for some others. It's also important to know that it's not the be all end all.
Right. Well, we're all individuals, Silky. We all have different life paths. And the beautiful thing about life is that we have the power of choice.
That's
We have the power of choice. And what I chose may not be right for others.
mm-hmm.
And what other people chose may not be right for me. So that's why it's so important that we stay in touch with our intuition and we stay in touch with our soul and our heart. Because if we do that, it's all going to be playing out the way it's supposed to be playing out for our destiny, for our life.
Right. Right,
That
exactly.
sounds a little bit woo-woo, but I truly do believe that.
No, it's not, and and just stop the judgment. Stop judging other people. Your opinion matters to you, not to anybody, really, unless asked for. It's time to stop the judgment on those sort of societal pressures. Kristen, we're coming, to starting to come to the end of our segment. I want to ask you, what is that answer for you? I love the little quote that you had in the chapter. What is happiness as a single woman? What does that mean to you? What can you pass on to others?
Oh, okay. So I think it's being fulfilled in how you're contributing on this planet. And I truly believe that we are here to learn, we are here to teach, we are here to serve, and we are here to love. And as far as I'm concerned, none of that is dependent upon me being married.
Yeah, true. Absolutely. In fact, and I'll add to that, is that sometimes the wrong partner will hold you back from what you're meant to do. And that's something you have to reconcile to. So there's a lot to think about. Again, the main message that there's nothing wrong with you if you don't marry. And it's actually trending. We're actually trending that way. Stats are showing that. Again, nothing against marriage. Just there's nothing wrong. That's an important message. So Kristen, thank you so much for joining me.
Silky, thank you.
The book is The Seat Taken. You have three of these, and different perspectives, different short stories, I would say,
Yes.
of a very inspiring life lessons. I'll link to all of them, and I'll see you next time on Second Act TV. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. And if you have an idea for a segment that you'd like to have us cover, please visit our website, secondact.tv. We have a little red suggestion box in the upper right-hand corner of our site. Just click on that, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.